Comic Book Savant, episode 463. Welcome back to the Comic Book Savant podcast. I'm your host, James Harris. It seems like it's been forever since I last recorded, but it really hasn't. But I've missed you guys. This episode, we're going to be doing, excuse me, we're going to be doing a episode based around some ideas or concepts that I would like to see as far as direct movies or TV shows that would spin out to Disney Plus. It's been a few months now since Disney Plus launched. We got it at the very end of last year. It's been around. We've had some new and original shows. We've had The Mandalorian come out, and has been really successful. A lot of people like the show. We have things coming by the end of this year from Marvel with Falcon and the Winter Soldier, as well as WandaVision was moved up to come out before the end of the year, and they have already announced a ton of shows that I've talked about in previous episodes: Moon Knight, She-Hulk, what else? Miss Marvel. It's so many different shows off the top of my head. I cannot recall all of them. Then we got rumors like stuff like maybe we will see the Netflix Defenders pop up, maybe in a Disney Plus series. But based on what using The Mandalorian as kind of a template for this episode made me really start thinking about what we might get. Like I said, it's being rumored now. Some rumors have been floating around, and I've just seen some recent stories that maybe we will get the Falcon and the Winter Soldier a little bit earlier. We thought we might get it at the very end of the year. It might be like some things, a little tidbit from article came out saying we might get it as soon as August, which would be cool to get it a little bit earlier. And we probably will be getting WandaVision maybe in that end of the year kind of time slot, since they moved it up by a few months. So it'll be interesting to see. But using The Mandalorian and what we saw with The Mandalorian as a template and what kind of we have out there, I'm going to be going over a handful of shows that I think I would like to see on the platform of Disney Plus. So first and foremost, though we know that it's already getting a theatrical release, I always felt like Ant-Man and the Wasp. I really enjoyed both movies. I think I liked the first Ant-Man slightly better than I liked Ant-Man and the Wasp. We know it's going to be a third film. We don't know the title, so I'm just going to say this is an Ant-Man and Wasp sequel film. They weren't as successful as some of the other Marvel movies, so I feel like this is something that I wouldn't be opposed to if this movie just showed up on Disney Plus. They're not as budget intensive as some of their other movies, so I think for the money they would put into it, especially with the money that they're investing in these Disney Plus Marvel TV shows, that I think it would be received a lot better on the Disney Plus platform compared to the numbers that it turned in worldwide box office wise. But I feel, now here's a theory that I have. It's just a theory. I don't have it based on anything. But before Peyton Reed was brought on to do Ant-Man, when Edgar Wright left, they had the creative differences and he left the project. He had been pitching to Fox when Fox still had the property of the Fantastic Four. He was pitching a script that I heard that was really, really good for a Fantastic Four movie. Now we know that they have the rights back for the Fantastic Four. I kind of feel, and we know that that Scott Lang has had ties to the Fantastic Four as well. He was a member of the Fantastic Four. I feel like maybe it's going to come full circle, and I debated would they bring him back to do a third movie, just because those other the two Ant-Man films were one of their more lower. I feel like they still made a profit, but they weren't billion-dollar movies. They were more kind of like middle of the road, middle tier kind of movies, as far as quality, as far as box office. So I think one of the reasons that he was brought back was because of that pitch he originally had, and he was very passionate, and he really tried to champion getting that movie made, that we might see and this is why it's really being pushed as a theatrical release, is that it's going to be some ties launching in or intertwining, setting up the arrival of the Fantastic Four. And maybe instead of using the negative zone, they might be using, the quantum realm instead. So it'll be very interesting to see this movie now based upon them setting a release date for it for a theatrical release. But I wouldn't have been mad before that announcement was made when I was originally kind of fleshing out the idea of this episode. I would have pitched it as being a more Disney Plus release film than a theatrical film. But I think that's the reasoning why we're going to see that theater side compared to being a Disney Plus premiere. But we'll see if any of my theory is correct down the road. It remains to be seen. But with that being said, the next one I would like to see would be a Disney Plus direct movie. And I would like to see what they tease at the end of Guardians 2 with the OG Guardians gang. I would like to see that heist film they kind of teased in the end, towards the end credits of the last Guardians movie. I don't know if that would warrant that big budget, and I don't know who would want to see not the Guardians cast of characters we know in a theatrical release, but I think it would be perfect to see that as done as a slightly lower budget heist film, with a more contained budget. We don't need like a $200 million budget, anywhere from like $125 million budget, because it is Guardians and you want to keep it up to quality. I think that might be a good direct to Disney Plus kind of film if all the actors were, open to come back to it. I think that could really work and probably pop well as supplementary material to come out maybe leading into when Guardians 3 drops, or maybe supplemental material after that film would come out. I think that would be awesome. Even if James Gunn didn't direct it, because I think he's going to take a break after, considering he's doing the work on Suicide Squad, and he's going pretty much directly from Suicide Squad into Guardians 3. But I know they talked very heavily before the whole tweet controversy, him being fired and him being rehired, that Kevin Feige wanted to position him kind of as the Kevin Feige of the MCU cosmic realm. So I wouldn't mind seeing this film done with him being like executive producer, kind of in that Kevin Feige role to oversee it, since he's really the architect of the MCU cosmic universe. To see him, really, hands on, but maybe not directing the film. Maybe someone that he picks that he's comfortable with and directing the film. Maybe maybe even one of the already existing directors, like maybe Taika, but it's rumors going around that Taika might be doing like a Star Wars, this Kevin Feige Star Wars films that he's supposed to be producing. So it's a lot of moving parts within Disney and the different branches of Disney at this point. So it would be interesting. But I think maybe if we went with a pre-existing director, he would be a good fit just from the reception of Thor Ragnarok. I think he could be a good fit to potentially direct that film if they would do something like that. But I think I would love to see it just based on what they teased. And I love those original Guardians, the Guardians of the Galaxy from the comic books from the late 70s and 80s. I always loved those characters, so it would be really cool to see them. And I liked the way they were portrayed in the film. Next, I would like to see an Ahsoka live action film, or not live action film, but live action TV show on Disney Plus. Probably similar to The Mandalorian, like 6 to 8 episodes long. Maybe a slightly longer format, because I think that was the one thing I was most disappointed by with The Mandalorian, is it was kind of hinted that, I'm thinking these would be at least like hour long episodes. They were more like half an hour long, and I think towards the end we did get like maybe pushing a 45-minute episode. So I thought it was going to be like, since they didn't have commercials, more like a 60-minute runtime per episode. So I would maybe like to see potentially 6 if they had a good enough story, maybe pad it out to 8. 8 1-hour episodes for an Ahsoka live action show. I don't know who they would cast for Ahsoka. I just love the character. It was a big gap. We're going to be getting what happened to her per her exit on the Clone Wars in this final season of the Clone Wars. Some of the storylines we see her in that set her up. We know we pick her up later in Rebels, and we see a story, and she's still alive at the end of that series, and she has a very special mission where her and Sabine go looking for Ezra. So we still know she's like in the universe, but there's that big gap of time before we see her in Rebels in the end of Clone Wars, which we'll get a little portion of that in the final season of the Clone Wars, but it's a big gap. Excuse me. I read the Ahsoka, or I listened to the audiobook for the Ahsoka novel they did a couple of years ago, which was good, but kind of picks up after the Clone Wars ended, picks up in that kind of gap of time. But it's a lot of excuse me, it's a lot of time there that they can play around with that character, that it would be cool to see maybe like 1 or 2 seasons. And as I'm sitting here talking about it, maybe like 2 6-episode seasons for like a 12 episodes total. I think I would really like that, just to cover some of those gaps. Maybe we get the first 6 episodes cover post Clone Wars, maybe covering some of the events that were touched upon in the Ahsoka book, and then have the second season cover post what we saw her in Rebels, when her and Sabine are on that mission trying to look for Ezra, because that hasn't been touched on at all, unless that might be covered in a book later that we don't know about. It would be interesting to see, but like I said, I think she's a wonderful character. Would love to see it. Like I said, I love the character, and I don't necessarily feel like I would want to see that animated. I think I would want to, seeing how well The Mandalorian came out, even though it wasn't without its own flaws or ups and downs. I think it would be a great series to have, and would be really, really fun. Next on my list on shows that I would like to see, shows or direct movies to Disney Plus, I see the Solo film had mixed critical and fan response. I enjoyed the movie. It wasn't everything I necessarily expected that movie to be, but in reviewing the movie and rewatching the movie since its initial release, I haven't hated the movie, and I enjoy it for what it is, and I like the supplemental material they've had. They've had some they had a Lando mini series that led up. We get to see Lando right before, and I think it ends with him right where Han meets him for the first time in that scene in the movie. And I really liked how they built that lore up in that time period. And I would like to see those characters, see more of Han, see more of Lando, and see what the next adventures were for them. And I think you couldn't do that theatrically, just based on how right now the fandom coming out of the Rise of the Skywalker, and just in general with all the stuff with Kathleen Kennedy, that it's a weird time for, I think, the Star Wars as a franchise in the theatrical realm. I think they can thrive, and it was shown by The Mandalorian. I think they can thrive on Disney Plus, on the Disney Plus platform, streaming platform. It could be made for that. So I would love to see that sequel, to see what they would do with that. And I wouldn't be mad if Ron Howard came back from the being on board from the beginning, not with all the reshoots and everything like that, because I think that movie would have been very profitable if they didn't have to shoot the whole thing over again. It had that going against it to begin with, and then everything else just avalanched on top of it, and it never had a fair shot to be just on its own without all the negative negativity from the behind the scenes drama that happened on the film. Also, piggybacking, if I could talk, piggybacking off of that recommendation, I would like to see Akira and Darth Maul TV show. They left that little nugget at the end where she takes off. We get that cameo from Darth Maul, and though Darth Maul's history has been covered uh, more extensively through the different series they've had through Clone Wars, of course, also in Rebels, and we see his demise in Rebels. But this is a whole segment of time, and we get some coverage of this in this final season of Clone Wars from the trailer of when he's on Mandalore and he's with Death Watch and he took over Death Watch and all that. So it's that whole segment, but then it's this segment of time that we don't know what happened with Maul. So this TV show and with them setting it up here, I would like to see it. And I really loved what's her name? I'm saying her name from Game of Thrones, Khaleesi. I really liked her in this role. I think it was one of her better roles in movies. I loved her on Game of Thrones. But I wouldn't be mad to see her more of her exploits in the underworld, and seeing how that all would shape out. I wouldn't be mad at it even a little bit. So I would be 100% down to see that and bring Ron Howard back. Like I said, I don't think he did a bad job at all. Amelia Clark, yeah, I loved Amelia Clark in that Kira role, and I would just love to see it where they would go with that and see the villainous side. Like we got elements of it in A Mandalorian, and it's very interesting because we didn't get to see much of it. Even in The Mandalorian, we only got glimpses at the bounty hunter side of things and how the world, that side of the world outside of the politics and the Jedis, want to see more of the underbelly side of it. So totally would be on board for that. Next up, I have Young Avengers TV show. Though I think this might manifest itself into a movie. With Miss Marvel being a Disney Plus show, we're gonna have Hawkeye, where we're introduced to Kate Bishop's Hawkeye, which is a founding member of the Young Avengers, and we're gonna have the cross pollination of content between Disney Plus shows and the movies. I don't know if people would be so into the Young Avengers, but as a feature theatrical release. But I think if they had a TV show, a la kind of what they did with, Netflix and building up to the Defenders, you kind of got Hawkeye on one side, Miss Marvel. You introduce some other elements and other characters elsewhere, even if we kind of have stature, we have set up from the movies. You can bring her over, so it's elements kind of stealthily being put into place for this to be a possibility. So I wouldn't be totally surprised if would see it come to fruition. But again, I don't know if it will be in a theatrical release or a TV show. But I think being that they had success with Runaways and Cloak and Dagger on Freeform, and they made it work. Now that everything's under one umbrella, under Feige's eye, I think this could really work as a really well done television show on Disney Plus. Next up, I would like to see a Lady Sif TV show. Because I'm just horrible with the names today. Can't remember anyone's name. 1 second. I hate when I do that to you guys. I was like, I'm seeing her face and I can't remember her name. Jamie Alexander. I love Jamie Alexander. We've seen her other places. We hadn't seen her since the end of Thor: The Dark World. She made multiple appearances, and they kind of had this storyline with her that kind of crossed over to Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. As well. I would love to see where she's been since she wasn't in the third movie at all. She wasn't in Infinity War or Endgame, but they said she's still alive. So I would like to kind of see what happened to her from the last time we saw her on like Agents of Shield, which I can't even remember what season that was, second or third season, I think. It's just been a while since anyone's seen her. I know she had different shows that, and there was scheduling conflicts and stuff like that where she wasn't included in any of that stuff. But I would love to see them kind of do, and I don't even think it has to be a long running TV show, like just one season, maybe 6 episodes that we get us caught up with what's been going on with the character and set her up for maybe her showing up in the next Thor movie, what is it, Thor Love and Thunder. That would be dope. And I think you could do that relatively cheaply. I don't think that show would demand like a super high budget if everyone was down. I really like the actress. I like the actress in that role. Um, yeah, I would like to see it. This is just wishful thinking because Disney would have to get the rights back to this. But for my next suggestion, I would like to see a John Carter sequel film. I was checking on this when I came up with this idea, and I looked it up. And Disney they let the rights lapse to the franchise. I don't know if anyone else had picked them up, but I really liked that movie. I just think it was a casualty of a weird time when it came to marketing movies, and I think they marketed that movie so early, and they just did so many things, and I don't necessarily think the movie was, some people said it was horrible. I really enjoyed the movie. I like Tyler Kitsch in that John Carter role. I wanted to see more of that story. I enjoyed the movie. I remember going to it. I was like, why is everybody dogging this movie out so bad? It was an enjoyable movie. But neither here nor there. They would have to reacquire the rights. I don't necessarily see that happen because they took a bath on that movie because they spent so much money on marketing. Then it was already a big, sprawling, epic film at the time with crazy special effects and all the other. But that was one movie, like I said, I enjoyed, and I would love to see a sequel. But it's more, like I said, this is really just me wishfully thinking about that one. Last but not least, on my recommendations or things that I would like to see on Disney Plus be a direct film or sequel of some sort or a TV show would be a Monsters Inc. sequel film. I know they're gonna have I don't know if it's a film or it's gonna be a TV show that picks up after the movie, but I want this to be like a direct sequel to the film with Boo being tied into that story, because I love that film. That film like got me and gave me the feels. I cried. I loved the character of Boo and her relationship uh, with Sully. That movie. I watched that movie so many times when it came out, and I think I was in my 20s, and I would watch it obsessively. I just loved the film. I didn't hate Monsters University, but I always wanted that proper sequel to maybe see her as an adult, and maybe Sully comes back and we interact with her child and she's an adult and all that. I like even mapped it out in my head on what would be cool, but I would love to see that. I think the show is going to be something a little bit different from. I've heard like little spatterings of like plot details here and there, but I haven't heard anything about it tying into Boo in any way. But I would love kind of that continued, continuity, even though it's been so many years since that original film came out. To then, so like, but just do it real time, and that Boo is an adult, and now we're dealing with her daughter or maybe her son, and having that through line go through from there. I think that would be so good. Like I would be all over that if that was a thing. But I thought this would be a fun little episode to kind of speculate. I've enjoyed Disney Plus tremendously since it's launched. I'll probably do some breakdown and review of Disney Plus in more detail sometime soon in the future. I know me and Heath did an episode over on Serial at Midnight. We did a video where we kind of talked about Disney Plus and talked about The Mandalorian. So if you haven't checked that out, go over to youtube.com/Serial at Midnight. Check that out. It was the last video we did at the end of last year. Me and Heath will be doing some Spinner Rack Bros episodes. That hasn't gone away. I'm just playing catch up. I have a bunch of travel coming up over the next few months. So I'm trying to get everything scheduled, set up, as far as getting content lined up, recorded. So it'll be some Spinner Rack Bros episodes in there. I just have to line up with him to make sure we can get those, get a time set aside to record them. But you will have some Spinner Rack Bros episodes coming up. You voiced your opinion. You love those episodes. We love doing them, as being close friends as we are. So more will be coming down the pike with that for sure. Definitely, I want to mention before I close out the episode, I know I talked about it for the longest time. I thought you probably thought I was pulling your legs. You should already have seen by now, by the time you hear this episode, the new t-shirt designs are out. We had 3 new designs. Like I told you guys, I was working with Eric Griggs. He's a great artist that helped Heath with design his t-shirts. He runs a company called Queer Prints. He's a phenomenal disc graphic designer and t-shirt designer. We have 3 designs. We have one for the Savant Society. We have 2 more designs that are just like little hilarious like things that he worked up with me. I can't even take credit for it because it was all him. I'm horrible at coming up with ideas. I'm good at creating content. I'm horrible at that kind of stuff. So he came up with 3 really cool designs. Some of you guys have already commented through like the Facebook group and things like that. So those are now available for sale at the Teespring store. I will have links on this episode post to the merchandise store, or if you go to the website, comicbooksavant.com, if you go in the navigation bar, you see the store. That link will take you right over to the store. We have 4 t-shirt designs, one with the just the regular logo on it, and the 3 new designs. We have the Savant Society in a hoodie and the regular Comic Book Savant in a hoodie. We have stickers you can get there as well. Also coffee mugs. So we have that merchandise available in the store. More to come. If you guys, purchase the merchandise, it goes a long way in supporting the show. I've talked about it in previous episodes where aspects of my relationship, I don't want to get too much into it, with in-stock trades, and DCBS is changing as far as on the business side. So it's imperative that I then now create other revenue streams to bring in revenue for the podcast to do what I need to do. Not just the podcast, but let me say this for the platform of Comic Book Savant, because it's not just a podcast anymore. It's a podcast. It's it's Patreon, where I do podcasts and I do other specific content for that platform. And then it's YouTube and the stuff I want to do. And I've done like 1 YouTube video, and I want to do content directly for the Facebook page, Comic Book Savant Facebook page as well. So your support, if it's the purchasing merchandise, or contributing or signing up for the Patreon and contributing that way, or doing one-time donations on the website. I have Patreon set up. I have where you can do PayPal me. I think, if I haven't already, because I created it, I'll put a Cash App link up there as well. So if you just want to do like a one-time donation, you guys have been great. I mean, some of you guys that are already Patreons have like went up to a higher tier to help out, since I've mentioned it when I did the episode talking about my plans for 2020 and what I want to do with the show. I want to expand it. A big issue for me and what held me back and made things so hard previously was my health, and I went through the last year getting that in order. So coming out of that and not having those limitations or restrictions, I'm really trying to go big this year. A lot of plans that I've had for the longest time that I just couldn't do physically, I can do now, and I really want to expand this brand. So many of you guys, like, why aren't you bigger? Why don't you have a bigger following? It's because I just couldn't do everything required, I guess, on my end. You guys have helped me and we've built it, but we still even have more room to grow, and that's the intention for 2020 across the board. Comic Book Savant as a platform, I'm trying to take it to the next level. I feel that I make quality content. You guys love it. I think the more we can get it into other people's hands. They can see what it is that we've built here, because I didn't do it alone. We built it together. So yeah, that's the drive. That's the mission. That's what I'm on. I'm on one hard to uh, get this to as many people as um, possible. And I need you guys' help, because again, like different avenues. Like I said, I've had a long-standing relationship. Like I said, it's still exists, but it's definitely not what it used to be, and it was never enough to cover the expenses of doing what I do, and it's even less of a help. It's still something, but it's really a drop in the bucket on everything else. So I'm doing things like the merchandise. So I'm not a person that's chill and just wants you to guys, expect you guys to, give me anything. I want to give you value for whatever you give to the show. So that's why I'm working with artists. We're gonna have other. After we do this first wave, we're gonna have more T-shirt designs. Eric is a great guy. He's working to help me, just like you guys are helping me build the brand of Comic Book Savant across social media, across just it being a brand and being more recognizable, so we can make this as big as it possibly can be. So we'll have more designs coming down the pike, as and we'll see how this first wave goes, see if we add another one or two designs. So we'll keep trying to refresh and adding stuff as I come up with ideas, or you guys give me ideas on what you would like to see. Then I'll work with him and potentially other graphic designers to keep coming up with fresh, cool ideas for like T-shirts and things like that. Also, I've talked about it before. I'm attempting again to become a Amazon affiliate. So I'll have I won't have it up right now. By the time you listen to this episode, it might be there, probably not. But I'm going to have a page with like Amazon affiliate links. If you're unfamiliar with it, it's basically just if you click on that link on something that I've recommended and you purchase that, I get a small percentage of it. And when I say small, it's like pennies on the dollar. But if you get so many referrals off of your links, I think if you click on the link, if you buy something, even if you don't buy what I recommend, but if you buy something after clicking that link within like 24 hours or so, I get a small percentage of the sale. It doesn't cost you anything. Like I said, it's pennies on a dollar. But if I get enough of those referrals, it helps generate revenue. So I'm trying to find different avenues to generate revenue to pump back into the show. My wife went to great expense knowing I needed new equipment through the Patreon. I picked up new equipment as well. So through these different avenues, so I've pretty much revamped my whole setup. But now it's like I want to travel. I want to go out and be able to go to conventions and meet you guys and have meetups and things like that. So all of these plans that I have comes with cost and expenses. So I have to find different ways to drive revenue in so I can make all these things happen. It's more videos I want to do. I want to start getting into shooting more videos where I go to different comic shops in different areas as I travel to see, so I can do recommendations to comic shops, local comic shops in different areas. There's so many different ideas that I have, but we're going to have to do it together. Like they say, it takes a village to raise a child. It takes a village to make a successful platform for our hobby that we all love and can learn and get to know each other from. So hope your guys are down. I know this went a little long here at the end, but I always felt like, again, I'm not a salesman, I'm a content creator, but the reality is the reality. And I always feel better if I'm always upfront and I'm transparent about what I'm doing. I'll never purposely like spring something on you guys. And my hopes is you would never feel that way or feel betrayed by anything that I'm doing. All of it is in the purpose of making content greater, better, bigger, across the board. That's my only mission, is to do that, is to make this as successful as possible. I've done it for 14 years, and I want to keep doing it for another 14, God willing. So with that, I need your help to make it happen. So I hope by putting this little appendage here at the end, letting you know I'm being transparent as possible on the reasonings behind it and why I'm doing it specifically, so it's no confusion at all. So with that being said, that's all I have for you guys for this week. I'm your host, James Harris. This is the Comic Book Savant podcast. Until next time, you guys have a good week, and I'll talk to you soon. Take care.